Young Boys Incorporated, or BGF, Black Guerrilla Family, Bloods, Crips, Gangsta Disciples, Vice Lords, Junior Black Mafia. The list goes on and on. The niggas to join goes on even longer, not to mention the ones still unseen. But one of the last to be seen was one of the few you could actually see. BMF, the Black Mafia Family.
I got the deal of a lifetime.
Your deal don't mean nothing to me, man. I'm not even supposed to be talking to this dude. Get Blue on the phone. Somebody get Blue on the phone, man.
I bet y'all 10,000 a piece. In the minimum. Matter of fact, we got this. I gotta have something to bet back. Man. Y'all about to give my man some room. Hit this stuff. I never heard of the man. I ain't never seen him on Nam Quick, man. We gonna see that.
What up, dude?
Blue, man, this man is interfering with my business. You need to get down here and talk to this man. I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to count this. I don't know why somebody let him in the room to see what's going on anyway, man.
All right, look, just let me run down here and check on that little shipment I was telling you about yesterday, and I'll get down there in a little while. All right, just give me a minute. One.
Art is the imitation of life, and there were no greater artists than the Black Mafia Family. The story of BMF is a story of inner city niggas who started out on the streets of Southeast Detroit and slowly spread out across the country, landing in a state thought to be just that, country. Atlanta, Georgia, the new home of Black America, a place that housed music companies like So-So Def, rappers like Gucci Mane, Shorty Low, and more strip clubs than you could shake a stick at. Booty popping and popping bottles sometimes led to popping niggas. Death disguised by the land's beautiful peaches often making one think shit was sweet. But as sweet as the juices from Atlanta's peaches could taste, blood would invade the taste buds of niggas who didn't know. Yeah, country was the state of Georgia, but some of its occupants were as far away from country as a nigga from New York. Fuck around in Atlanta, and a nigga might find his brain splattered in a treehouse and his face would sit next to a dictionary's definition of the woods. On any given day, you could walk down Peachtree and possibly catch a convoy of niggas pushing Rangers, Phantoms, Maseratis, or some new fly shit called Lucci. Shit most niggas wouldn't even understand. But niggas in the know knew Lucci was money, and these niggas had plenty of it. According to government abbreviated agencies, the FBI and DEA, Demetrius Flournoy, aka Big Meech, headed a multi-million-dollar drug empire. Feds allege him and his brother, aka Southside T, started out on Detroit's inner-city streets selling small quantities of narcotics. The accusations that the government claimed came with the support of secret investigations dating back as far as the early 90s. Also alleged by the government was the involvement of money laundering, multiple drug busts, and the falsification of identity. The government made astonishing claims and unbelievable amounts of cash and cocaine seizures. For example, in October 2005, it was reported that some 30 members of BMF were arrested in a massive drug raid orchestrated by the DEA. On several raids, the DEA claimed to have seized $10 million in cash, assets, and weapons in addition to 9.5 kilos of cocaine. At the time of those arrests, the DEA revealed that prior to that raid, they had arrested 50 other alleged BMF members and confiscated $21 million in cash, and up until that point, had already seized 932 kilos of cocaine. The allegations wouldn't stop there, because on July 25, 2007, the U.S. Attorney unveiled another indictment which named 16 more alleged BMF members. This indictment charged defendants with participating in a nationwide distribution conspiracy punishable with a 10-year to life sentence and a $4 million fine. Included in that indictment was a high-profile name that ran in circles. Circles like the second hand on a watch counting time because time was money. That individual was Jacob the jeweler. Jacob's jewelry, in particular, his watches, adorned the wrists of P. Diddy, Fat Joe, and countless other rappers. The influence of BMF had penetrated the world of bling. Perhaps that's why some people say they got the attention of them people.
Sheriff's Office, ATF, aided by the U.S. Marshal Service and the Georgia State Patrol Aviation Wing, simultaneously executed pre-dawn search warrants and made arrests throughout Richmond County. Today's enforcement action involved more than 150 state, local, and federal law enforcement officers. These are neighborhood gangs that encompass many of the South Augusta neighborhoods. Gang members and their associates are alleged to be involved in a number of criminal activities throughout Richmond County that include conspiracy, federal firearms violation, the distribution of dangerous drugs, dealing in stolen property, and various violent acts to further promote the illegal activities associated with these gangs. This investigation will not be over today. We will continue to investigate and arrest folks for some time to come, stemming from this operation. We have been since 4 o'clock this morning arresting folks. All the teams went out at 4 with their targets and have been bringing people in ever since. I wish I could get in more detail now, but for obvious reasons we can't. At 3 o'clock we will have an official release, and also we'll be showing weapons, drugs, or whatever we have seized during this operation.
With what appeared to be mountains of evidence, official accusations and rumors running wild, the climate of Atlanta began to change. People were in disbelief. Public morale was low, and abbreviated organizations came under severe fire. For example, in the midst of the BMF public speculation, the APD, Atlanta Police Department, committed downright murder.
A week after the fatal shooting of an 88-year-old woman by police in Atlanta, there are even more questions about what really happened. Who led officers to the woman's home is the subject of fierce debate even within the police department. Here's CNN's Rusty Dornan with that.
Katherine Johnston was buried today, 1 week after she was shot dead in a police raid. As family and friends mourned her, they were still asking, who's lying about what happened that day? We know this much: when police burst through Johnston's door, she fired a gun, injuring officers. They returned fire, killing her. But why did police raid the home of an elderly woman? They had told a judge an informant had bought drugs at the house earlier that same day, so they were granted a search warrant. But that informant says, no way.
I never went to the house. The police can't make me say I went to the house.
And there are more contradictions and questions. The day after Johnston was killed, Assistant Police Chief Alan Dreyer suggested it was an officer who bought drugs at that address.
An undercover went through, purchased narcotics.
6 days after the shooting, Atlanta's police chief says it was not an officer after all.
Our narcotics officers sent a confidential informant into a house. That person purchased drugs.
Dreyer had also spoken of another suspect.
It was an individual that was arrested at an earlier incident not related to this particular address right here.
Another search warrant issued after Johnston was killed states another suspect was taken into custody inside the residence. So who was it?
I can't comment on that right now.
And why was there a no-knock warrant issued allowing police to enter the house without warning? Narcotics officers had claimed in the affidavit their informant had warned there were surveillance cameras at Johnston's house. But now police refuse to say whether they found any cameras. All 7 narcotics officers in the unit have been placed on paid leave.
The officers are saying one thing, the confidential informant is saying something else, and we don't know that. That's why I have asked for an independent review.
A review directed by the FBI and Georgia State investigators. Outside Katherine Johnston's funeral, many expressed distrust of the police.
From the very beginning, I knew Miss Johnson wasn't a part of this, and I just feel real bad that we can't trust the police to do the right thing.
But also confusion.
If there is an informant that's coming out now, I hope that he's telling the truth. I really do.
Many in Johnston's neighborhood are angry, bewildered, and saddened by what's happened here. But some are united by the hope that with outside investigators, justice in this case will be done. Rusty Dornan, CNN, Atlanta.
The similarities of BMF and Katherine Johnston are simple. Police. Miss Johnson was killed at the hands of Atlanta Police Department, the same hands who around the same time worked in conjunction with government agencies to make BMF arrests. One would have to question the legitimacy of those arrests because murder means you should be arrested yourself. Therefore, justice can only be justice when all alleged are held equally responsible. The responsibility of abbreviated organizations like BMF have no less value than the APD. Acts of violence, wrongdoing, and views of society are perhaps the foundations of those who become ones that belong to none, but in turn affect all. Big Meech and BMF brought a swag into an era that truly affected all, or at least all in their field. Everyone from Busta Rhymes to Bun B to Rockefeller's Freeway and Trina was affected with an infectious kind of love, a sense of belonging in an industry that really shielded none. A BMF party was more than just a party. A BMF party was recognition, a chance to be seen and be seen with those in the know. Niggas who was straight getting it, and who wouldn't want to be a part of that? After all, it was only entertainment, and it was really a clever way for Meech and BMF to control the game. A label to win. With winning sewn on the tag of Meech's shirt, there were surely those who'd want him to lose. But with a shit-tight click and an understood plan, failure couldn't possibly be an option. With all the money Meech was rumored to have, it was believable when he said he ain't bring it all. Damn near anything he said was believable because niggas knew he had it. The position that came with boss niggas was one where a lot of shit was believed, but it wasn't always true. Anything remotely close to a mover and shaker would make the mover and shaker guilty. That's just how it was, how it is, especially for BMF. Niggas wasn't angels, but they wasn't no devils either. What they became was targets. Like any nigga in the streets getting it, motherfuckers was coming, and the first thing to come was beef. For example, rapper Young Jeezy was alleged to have put a hit on Gucci Mane's chain, allegedly over a rap beef. Jeezy's rap was alleged to have a $10,000 hit on Gucci's icy chain. Gucci, an upcoming rapper at that time, was lured to a stripper's house to allegedly listen to some music. The music he intended to hear wasn't the music he heard, and surely not what he felt. According to Gucci, he was attacked and was put in fear of his life. A gun was involved, and Gucci allegedly fired, hitting one of his attackers. A young man was found dead not too far from the scene. The young man was a media-made BMF member. Gucci was cleared of all wrongdoing, and when asked what he knew about BMF, he replied,
"Really, man, you know what I mean? I'm just so concerned about, you know what I mean, what's going on at A.S.I.S Entertainment, you know what I mean, me being the boss and the CEO of the company, you know what I mean, and then when I always had my own record company, you know what I mean, just being on myself, sign sell records, you know what I mean, so I always had a lot of people under me, you know what I mean, I always was a boss, I always had artists, I always had goons, you know what I'm saying, so caught up in what I had going on, you know what I mean, how I run the streets, I run the streets hard, so, you know I mean, couldn't really focus on nobody else. You know what I mean?
Right.
Really didn't hear a lot about what was going on with them too. After the magazine started, we talk about that. I only can believe so much with the magazine, so I'm really on the outside looking in for it. You know what I mean?
All right. You never had any interactions with them or anything of any kind?
Never made no songs together, nothing like that.
That's what it is.
With his disbelief in the media and his district attorney granted pass on murder charges, Gucci Mane would go on and continue his career becoming a cult-followed artist. There were other artists who acknowledged BMF and showed respect despite the rumors and accusations. Take, for example, hitmaker Shorty Low.
BMF, they some good people, man, you know what I'm saying? You know, Meech my nigga, man, you know what I'm saying? Free Meech, man. You know what I'm saying? BMF, what's happening, man? It's your boy Hello, man, you know what I'm saying? Real nigga do real thing, man.
Real niggas indeed do real things. And one of the realest things today's ballers do is strip clubs. But understand, there's a difference between balling and BMF. Just like there's a difference between backing that thing up and making that shit pop. When BMF came through, them niggas made it rain. Put a chick on the floor and watch it do something strange for some change.
Singing this song. 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 Singing this song.
The stories of BMF were becoming legendary. In fact, the stories actually became bigger than the music, so it was no surprise when the deal came from New York's independent label, Koch Records. With a deal in hand, niggas could start to move. And move, them niggas did. The first of apparent strategic moves was Blue Da Vinci, the label's only officially signed artist.
You ain't know me, but you finna get to know me quick. Everybody finna jump on my me and Fad rolling, smoke blowing, got the top open, got the chicken's ass, and he's a new kid, he got us all open.
With Blue being the only signed artist, the destiny of the BMF label weighed heavy on his shoulders. But you know what they say, heavy is the head that wears the crown, and Blue would go from being the artist to being the president. While Meech sat in jail fighting federal charges, Blue took charge. A small task to one who had already worked and recorded with Fabulous, Young Jeezy, and countless other artists on mixtapes. Perhaps it's because of his heavyweight hobnobbing, the feds almost immediately dethroned him with old accusations of him participating in a conspiracy based on 5 kilos, transporting large amounts of money, and driver's license fraud. With fresh indictments handed down, Blue would have to be found to answer the charges. And soon found he was, as he now sits in jail awaiting the feds' response. With Blue in jail, Meech in jail, it seemed like BMF was all but gone. There were others who at one time claimed BMF, but now for obvious reasons, they were silent. As the silence sliced through the noise made by the feds, Big Meech must have seen a sign. Because on November 19, 2007, he would stand in front of a judge and plead guilty. The $200 million feds allege he made would be the equivalent to 20 or so years he would do. Head held high, hands clasped like an honorable military nigga on parade rest, he would still be a general. Big Meech would rest his own case. Guilty. The teachings of Big Meech obviously hadn't fell on deaf ears. There were BMF members still out and ready to talk. One in particular was BMF member Ooh-Wee.
Still rolling the hood, and anywhere I go, I know that I'm good, gangsta.
Ooh-Wee, a known member and rapper who sang the hook on Blue Da Vinci's hit We Still Here, followed the principles of a street soldier. In April 2007, Uwe graced the cover of A.S.I.S magazine, revealing some startling information, but reluctant to speak on everything.
The cameraman is behind some A.S.I.S magazine, man. They got that shit practiced.
Rock and roll, you know, man, Clearwater. Oh, man, motherfucking cheater right there.
It's a real nigga right here. It's a real one right here, man.
That's a motherfucking cheater right there.
Nigga, when I was about 16, 17, nigga, I got in a high speed chasing one of this nigga's trucks, dog. Real shit, nigga. I had a bitch in the passenger seat, nigga, butt ass naked, nigga. All kind of guns in the car. Nigga got a high speed chase, nigga flipped the truck 3 times, nigga got out and got off and yada in church, man. And we ain't gonna talk about no more of that because I might incriminate myself, man.
His explosive interview created controversy and rumors amongst his peers. In one of his taped conversations, Uwe explained the value of one of Big Meech's pieces of clothing.
I got my trophy, man. Hold this for me right here. I got my trophy right here, man. Real shit, man. This is my trophy right here, man. Prosecutor who did all the wiretaps on all the BMF shit and all that shit. You know, he told me he had my Uncle Meech's jersey. You know, he's not a prosecutor anymore. He's an attorney actually. I met him through my attorney.
Is this what we got, bro?
Yeah, man. This is his sweater right here. He told me he had my Uncle Meech's jersey. He said somebody offered him $8,000 for it. He wouldn't, you know, that he wasn't going though. So, you know, I asked him for it back. He said I couldn't get it. So, you know, I was cold that day. So I asked him for a sweater, man. You know, this is a good trophy, man.
We're gonna burn this motherfucker.
Yeah, we gon' I ain't gonna burn it. My attorney keep asking for it back though. Like real shit. The nigga scared me though. He told me conversations I had 3 years ago, my nigga. Real shit.
Within mere days of this interview, Uwe would end up in Florida's Dade County Jail, accused of premeditated murder and other charges. Uwe would receive no bail and no bond. The allegations authorities had produced suddenly became substantiated with Big Meech's acceptance of guilty. But with the feds, you know that wasn't enough. There had always been questions of where the drugs that made BMF came from, and feds said it came from Craig Petty's. According to the DEA and U.S. Marshals, Petty's was the connect. Young, fly, and flashy, Petty's was allegedly connected to the Malvaderian Mexican Mafia. Authorities claim Petty's picked up his drugs and pushed them through the border in 18-wheelers. These charges catapulted Petty's to fame on America's Most Wanted. Petty's, now in jail awaiting trial on a slew of charges, doesn't necessarily fit the profile of a Mexican Mafia connect, because according to news sources, the Mexican Mafia has declared war on niggers.
Teen gang from southern Los Angeles County face federal organized crime charges that allege that some members of this Latino gang shot and killed African Americans, some of them criminals but some not, in order to monopolize the illegal drug trade. A table full of guns confiscated from alleged gang members went on display today as federal and local officials announced what they hope will be a devastating blow to a long-entrenched street gang. 2 indictments accuse 61 members of the Florencia 13 gang of southeast Los Angeles County with racketeering and drug dealing, allegedly backed up with intimidation and murder, including attacks by the Latino gang members on black rivals in the illegal drug trade.
The most disturbing aspect of the case is that in working to eradicate rival gangs from their territory, Florencia gang members allegedly engaged in a series of attacks on rival African-American gangs that extended to innocent citizens who ended up being shot simply because of the color of their skin.
Officials charged the Florencia 13 gang members took their orders straight from the Mexican Mafia prison gang.
It is an organized crime process that they're involved in. Thus, the federal charges, which are substantial, will result in a lot of people going away for a long time in prison.
11 indicted gang members are fugitives. 18 already were in jail on other charges. 32 were arrested this morning. A sheriff's lieutenant who was at the command post this morning said some relatives of the gang members were arrested as well, including, at least in one case, one gang member's mother, who also was allegedly part of the conspiracy. One of the arrestees is in immigration custody, and authorities said more may face immigration charges as well. Live at the U.S. Courthouse in downtown Los Angeles, Mark Coogan, KCAL 9.
With the startling information of war declared on blacks, one would have to question the authenticity on Petty's charges. If Mexicans was allegedly killing blacks, how could petties be a connect? And if the objective of the Mexican mafia was to eliminate black drug dealers, how could BMF survive? BMF defense attorneys surely have their plates full. And as full as those other defendants' plates may be, one must ask another question. How can the justice system be justice when getting the alleged defendants is the battle, not the war? And the first part of fighting any war means doing your job.
We welcome you back to CNN Newsroom. I'm Rick Sanchez. Do your job and we'll kill you. At least one Texas newspaper tonight is taking that warning to heart. It's pulling some of its reporters out of a border city in Mexico. This after the Mexican drug cartel warned that it's going to kill some of the journalists who report on their business. In our On Assignment segment tonight, I find myself in that situation in Mexico, seeing what some of my colleagues are up against. I couldn't even get a police officer to accompany me or escort me into this one town. U.S. authorities are telling us they are deliberately pushing border crossers further out into more remote areas. We're about 40 or 50 miles from the more populated San Diego-Tijuana crossing area, which is directly behind us. This is the U.S. border, but look what happens as we walk over here. It's not just a broken border. I am leaning into the United States right now. This is practically no border at all. This low fence is not the only reason smugglers are attracted to this desolate Mexican border town of Jacume. Here's another. These hills that provide perfect lookout posts so smugglers in Mexico can monitor the movements of the U.S. Border Patrol. Bob Mitchell lives on the U.S. side, just across from Jacume. He can see why this place is a perfect spot for smugglers.
You can see they've got a 180-degree view about 10 miles in each direction here.
From their high ground, they can see and control the mountains, trails, and ravines. U.S. Border Patrol won't comment about Jacume, but Mexican police tell us the area is so dangerous, they generally stay away. Because of the mountain, because of the deserts, because of the isolation, you're not able to go in there and really do your job. Por el desierto, por los arroyos, por el cerro, ustedes en sí no tienen la ventaja en ese lugar. You don't have the advantage. With nothing more than handguns, police tell us they're outgunned.
If the authorities are outgunned, then the war on drugs is overrated. The real ratings are jails, death, and niggas emulating videos where visuals are planted like seeds seen in dreams where niggas hang theyself.
I got this music, dude. Hey, look, we need to be getting... I know what I'm saying. Hey, what up, man? Young couple, you cannot be having that music dude coming up in here seeing all this money like this, man. You got to be able to separate the two. You can't do it. You ain't gonna... We cannot do it, man. I can't afford to have them people coming in here seeing all this money like this, man.
I want to know what does BMF mean to the hood where you from? Like, what do you think of when you hear them three letters? Gangster. Gangster. That's what it is. That's what it is. You want to shout out your MySpace, your emails, let them know.
Young Boys Incorporated, or BGF, Black Guerrilla Family, Bloods, Crips, Gangsta Disciples, Vice Lords, Junior Black Mafia. The list goes on and on. The niggas to join goes on even longer, not to mention the ones still unseen. But one of the last to be seen was one of the few you could actually see. BMF, the Black Mafia Family.
I got the deal of a lifetime. Your deal don't mean nothing to me, man. I'm not even supposed to be talking to this dude. Get Blue on the phone. Somebody get Blue on the phone, man.
City streets selling small quantities of narcotics. The accusations that the government claimed came with the support of secret investigations dating back as far as the early 90s. Also alleged by the government was the involvement of money laundering, multiple drug busts, and the falsification of identity. The government made astonishing claims and unbelievable amounts of cash and cocaine seizures. For example, in October 2005, it was reported that some 30 members of BMF were arrested in a massive drug raid orchestrated by the DEA. On several raids, the DEA claimed to have seized $10 million in cash, assets, and weapons, in addition to 9.5 kilos of cocaine. At the time of those arrests, the DEA revealed that prior to that raid, they had arrested 50 other alleged BMF members and confiscated $21 million.
All right, just give me a minute. One.
Art is the imitation of life, and there were no greater artists than the Black Mafia Family. The story of BMF is a story of inner city niggas who started out on the streets of Southeast Detroit and slowly spread out across the country, landing in a state thought to be just that, country. Atlanta, Georgia, the new home of Black America, a place that housed music companies like So-So Def, rappers like Gucci Mane, Shorty Low, and more strip clubs than you could shake a stick at. Booty popping and popping bottles sometimes led to popping niggas. Death disguised by the land's beautiful peaches often making one think shit was sweet. But as sweet as the juices from Atlanta's peaches could taste, blood would invade the taste buds of niggas who didn't know. Yeah, country was the state of Georgia, but some of its occupants were as far away from country as a nigga from New York. Fuck around in Atlanta, and a nigga might find his brain splattered in a treehouse and his face would sit next to a dictionary's definition of the woods. On any given day, you could walk down Peachtree and possibly catch a convoy of niggas pushing Rangers, Phantoms, Maseratis, or some new fly shit called Lucci. Shit most niggas wouldn't even understand. But niggas in the know knew Lucci was money, and these niggas had plenty of it. According to government abbreviated agencies, the FBI and DEA, Demetrius Flournoy, aka Big Meech, headed a multi-million-dollar drug empire. Feds allege him and his brother, aka Southside T, started out on Detroit's inner city.
I bet y'all 10,000 apiece. In the minimum. Matter of fact, we got this. I gotta have something to bet back. Man. Y'all about to give my man some room. Hit this stuff. I never heard of the man. I never seen him on Nam Court, man. We gonna see that.
What up, dude? Blue, man, this man is interfering with my business. You need to get down here and talk to this man. I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to count this. I don't know why somebody let him in the room to see what's going on anyway, man. All right, look, just let me run down here and check on that little shipment I was telling you about yesterday, and I'll get down there in a little while.